Welcome back, everyone, to the Developer Diaries here. I'm Justin Platt, the content lead for Original Gamer Life. I'm joined by the fabulous Carlos Bott, who is our lead game designer for OGL. We're going to get into some questions here real quickly, but I just want to start off by saying, Carlos, how you doing? How's it going? How's it been? What you up to?
Oh, it's doing great. We just been building out the game and trying to get something working for the end of the month. Building out space stations. We'll get into the space station later. Building out laser tag, because we all love laser tag. Building out assets and other things that we need to make the game alive, a living, breathing universe.
That sounds amazing. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the verse? How is it going so far, and what have you been able to implement so far?
Okay, the verse so far. We decided the verse is going to be centered on a space station. As you see, like Babylon 5 or Deep Space Nine. But we're going to make it a little different. Most games, most metaverses are so serious. Well, it's in the middle of the summer, and people like to party. And we did a little background research, and there's no party stations. There's no party games where you go to a party station and you enjoy. You get to try different things. I think a lot of this comes from, there was an old Star Trek Next Generation episode when they keep talking about Ryza. Well, this will be Ryza in space. This will be our, where people go to unwind, relax, try new things. Yeah, there'd be a little fun battle, of course. You can't have a game without a MOBA, which is a massively online battle arena game. Got to have one of those. See who's the top dog. Got one of those.
Cool. So going into the MOBA, can you explain what goes into setting up that? And we're going to do it like a laser tag style arena, right?
We're going to do a laser tag arena. If you remember the game or the movie Ender's Game, has the name game in it. The big part of the movie was the battle room, where they learned how to fight in 0G, and that was kind of cool. So we're going to try to do it. We're going to try to do the 0G thing in this game, where you're firing lasers, and you get to do all the 0G physics with the lasers bouncing off of mirrors and other things. And we're going to see how it goes. Pretty interesting having 0G in a game, because in a game you have no gravity. Everything's inside a computer. So we're going to have our high G areas with our Earth normal gravity. We'll have a lobby where initially up to 8 people for testing can play, but we're going to hook it up with Steam or some other online services, and 64 people battling. That will be kind of cool. Walking around, talking to the various NPCs, going into the shops, buying clothes. Like if you want a Charlie Blackman uniform, you can get a Charlie Blackman uniform to walk around in. If you want a Neko-eared spacesuit, you can get a Neko-eared spacesuit, because that's what we think is fun.
Fun. I'm very excited to get into it now. I mean, you talked about space, you talked about Babylon 5 being inspirations. What other inspirations are you guys drawing for the scheme of this game?
Deep Space Nine, a little bit of, the fun parts of Deep Space Nine, the fun parts of Babylon 5. Yeah, they both dealt with war and misery. Well, we're going to leave all that at the door, all the politics and stuff. We're going to leave at the door. There's enough stuff going on in the world that, you need an escape. Other things, the old Wing Commander series, that was one of our inspirations. Going back to Elite Dangerous or Elite going back to the old PC games. We'll have a arcade machines you can play. You can play like Centipede and some of the old classics if we can get the licenses to it. We're going to have Die Hard Birdie in the game.
And Die Hard Birdie is a big one because he's one of our brand ambassadors. And you mentioned something earlier, NPC, non-playable characters. And they've been a big topic lately just because of the movie Free Guy, in which it's an NPC that comes to life. Do we have any idea what the design and style of these NPCs is going to look like in the metaverse?
Well, we originally wanted to use Unreal's MetaHuman, which is, wow. If you looked at the Matrix demo that they had out, it's like, wow, they look human. One of the problems with having characters that look too human is something called the uncanny valley, which means it looks almost human, and people get turned off about that unless it's a perfect representation of human. So it has to be more, we're going to do more like The Sims, the art style of The Sims or Borderlands, which is kind of toony. Toony means fun. We're not going to make it hyper realistic because that doesn't last. And it's kind of freaky seeing a known AI that looks very human, but it's a little off.
I'm happy to hear that because something that you've mentioned over and over again already in this interview is fun. Fun. We want to prioritize the game being fun. Yeah, we want it to look great. Yes, we want it to work. But at the end of the day, we want people to enjoy playing the game itself. It sounds rather cool. Now, something you brought up to me earlier that I want to talk about is the rule of cool. Do you mind explaining what that is?
The rule of cool means, it's gone to space station. You say, oh, wow, there's no sound in space. Or a ship doesn't have to look like that to be in space. Like, well, if it looks cool, it's in. Things won't have to be 100% accurate physics-wise. I mean, we're going to try our best because sometimes if it's too physicky, if that's a word, people get bored and turned off. I remember playing the old arcade battle games like Falcon 4, and so on, or even Flight Simulator. And we all defaulted to, unless you wanted to be a real pilot, you defaulted to the arcade mode because you kept crashing. Well, arcade mode doesn't mean, oh, it's bad. It's two plays like an arcade. No, it will protect the player. Yeah, if you want to be super serious and run a real simulation, I mean, yeah, you can. But we're not. That's not us. We're here for the fun. We're here for, if you want to have a, jump in a jet fighter or a space fighter and have a little combat between your friends, why not? I mean, that's what Roblox is all about. Why that was so fun. It doesn't have to be the most accurate. And in fact, if you've seen it, it's not accurate at all. It's not realistic at all. That's part of the fun. Minecraft, especially, they're not going to. Would you want to play a Minecraft that was photorealistic? No, that's where you see real pigs and you're killing real pigs and you're killing real sheep. No, you don't. You got to keep it toony. Or here's a big example. We talk. Die Hard Birdie's cousin, Angry Birds. Would you play Angry Birds if you were playing with real birds and they look really realistic and real pigs? No, it'd be kind of freaky. So we're gonna make it fun. We're gonna make it a little toony, but it's gonna look as good as possible before it gets into that uncanny valley look, which is this is kind of freaky.
Sounds like the layout is going to be a heavy influence on how the gameplay goes in that toony kind of realm. Now, to do this, last week we talked about just introducing you into the team and who's going to be there. Who have you brought in to help develop the metaverse?
Right now, the big person is Steve Ford, which you probably want to interview. We worked together way back in the Netherlands, way back in the late 2000s, and we taught there, and we kept in contact. And we've had a little games together, and he's AAA artist, and I'm a AAA developer, and we two and two together, and there we go. We're going to run with it.
Well, I'm happy to have anybody who's buying into the vision and sees what we're trying to the world. Are there any particular features that you're excited to get working on?
Yeah, in fact, one of the features that we're working on right now is the camera. The camera is always very important, so I'm adding a spectator camera where you can, just like most MOBAs, if you die or before you join a match, you can watch other players. Adding the spectator camera, playing with some of the laser effects. I mean, a laser effect doesn't have to look science fiction. It could be, although got to say Doctor Strange is a little science fiction-y itself, with the Avengers. They can look magical. It doesn't have to be, oh, this is a laser, and this can only be a laser. So we're going to try different effects, and it's going to look like a living, breathing station. That's one of the things. It's not going to look like something on an Alien Isolation, which is really, this is horror in space. It's going to be fun in space, but it's going to be for all audiences. So yeah, I was about ready to say, let the Mai Tais flow, let the Cokes flow, let the 7-Ups or the Shirley Temples flow.
Just getting into a little bit of the game specs itself, some terminology we might not be super aware with. You mentioned to me in another interview something called a level white box design process. Do you mind going over what that is?
Yeah, the white box process is where you very quickly build up a level using something called BSP geometry, which is cubes and cylinders and spheres and boxes and stuff that's built into the game engine that you can quickly assemble, untextured, and just to walk around to see if the scene's walkable. And for planning, once the scene is planned out and it's walkable, it looks good, it plays good, then the artist can start replacing the BSP geometry, which is the walls and other things, which real assets. You don't start immediately when you're planning a level with a finished product. You do it iteratively. You start with cubes and walls and doorways, and then you can texture them. You can change the fake door with a real door that does something. You can also use it for planning some of the code. For example, you touch this button, the door will go up. Well, maybe the door might not be ready from the art side, but we can have a stand-in door.
It sounds like you're creating a blueprint for the layout of the world. Now, another thing we wanted to talk about was blueprints. Is that exactly what it is, or is blueprints something else when it comes to this?
Blueprints is something else. Blueprints was invented by Unreal to have non-programmers a chance to very quickly design and implement levels. Yes, there still is C++. That's where I'm doing most of my work in, the C++, which is the hardcore game code. Can you write a game in blueprints? Yes, you can, and I've seen games written totally in blueprints, and they work beautifully. Unreal's done a great job in producing this system. And this system is nice because you're connecting nodes with wires, and it's just drop and drag, or drag and drop. And you can write complete games this way. The other game engine, which I'll mention, Unity, doesn't have that. You got to write code from day one.
If you had to give it a game comp, you mentioned The Sims. Is there any other games that this is comparable to?
We're building. The Sims is very comparable to it. Some of the levels in Star Citizen is comparable, but it's comparable but different. Yes, they're both in space. However, ours is, you're not going from store to store to buy weaponry to kill people, or in a game. It's more of a meet and greet, more the social aspect.
Cool. That plays a massive role, is building the social aspect, building the community in general, because we want to bring together a bunch of people who love gaming, want to learn more about crypto, want to be in this metaverse, want to adapt to the future. I mean, that's what it's all about. So now
think of Roblox for adults. I mean, there's mini games and there's things to do in Roblox. However, it's meant for kids. But we're going to mean this for adults, where you can actually go in and there'll be cryptocurrency, there'll be NFTs. You'll be able to actually own part of the game assets, which is very exciting. In other games where you just have a license to use their assets, they pull the server, you invested or you paid, $10,000 for some skin. Well, guess what? They just pulled the server, so you no longer own that skin in that game. So it's like, they ultimately own all the assets. We're giving players the ability to own parts of the game.
It's giving people the rights to what they own, what they earn, what they deserve. That's everything we're about. So give me a rough timeline here as we're going into this new month. What does it look like? What is your tasks over the next month apply to?
Well, the first task we're doing is we're going to do a 10 to 15 minute cinematic. No gameplay. We're going to have a camera fly through the scene to show off the level so far. And with some of the interactivities, we got, we're planning to have like shuttles come out of the ground, like in an aircraft carrier, take off, power up, and leave the station. It's going to look like what we can do in 10 to 15 seconds of video. We can we'll have the camera walk through some of the areas and do a voiceover. Like, this is going to be a clothing store. It's going to look like a mall. The first part, a mall under construction with hoarding up. It's like, come back in 2 months or come back in 1 month and this room will be open.
Well, I mean, everything that you've mentioned today has just gotten me more and more excited to see the final product eventually coming out. Are there any closing thoughts you have that you want to tell anybody watching this video right now to keep an eye out for?
Keep an eye out for our first level, our first build. We're going to probably open up some of the alpha play to players, just because we might be good at what we do. However, we're not the experts. The experts are the players, and the players know best. The players know, hey, this game is good, this game sucks, and we want to get the players involved in our process, because they don't want to play just another clone of another game of another game of another game.
Well, you heard it here first on the Developer Diaries. Keep your eye out for that first initial launch, because you could have a massive impact on how our game ends up looking. Carlos, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the Dev Diaries. I really appreciate having you, and I'm excited to talk to you more in the future about how this is going to get as we get closer to launch, on how things are going to look, how the game's going to go, learning a little bit more about coding and crypto, and putting it all into a single video that our viewers can enjoy. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, I think you can plan the next time. I'm gonna, as much as we can do in Zoom or Google Meet, I want to show you some of the level. Actually show what we've been working on. Some of the this is cool stuff.
Hey, say less. I am all for that. I'm sure me along with everybody would love to see exactly what you're talking about. That sounds great.